And welcome to the Black Psychologist Podcast, the Let's Get Some Perspective edition, presented by the Black Psychologist Network, where we react and analyze to viral videos making their way across the news cycle. I am one half of your humble and gracious host, Dr. Kyle Osborne. He is I, and I am him. And of course, you all know I'm not flying this aircraft by myself. This man of many disciplines, many skills, many talents, my friend, my brother, my brethren, the one and only Dr. Jason Coleman. What is going on, good brother?
Good, man. What's the word? What's up with you?
Nothing, man. I'm trying to get this self-care. My culture's 2-1. So, let that be known. We out here making some noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my boys is out here giving it up. You know how it go. We carry on. Got a big game in San Francisco coming up soon.
Oof.
Carry on.
Carry on. All right. We just gonna keep that moving. All right. Once again, everybody, we appreciate everybody locking in with us. Wherever you find your podcast, and also watching us on YouTube. Watch us, view us, rate us, give us 5 stars. Anything less than 5 stars is uncivilized. All right, first up, Jay, what we got is a travesty involving a young child. It's always tough when we do the stories about the young children being mistreated. But the video we're getting ready to break down and watch is it's about a young Black gymnast that was overlooked at a medal ceremony when everyone else was receiving medals for their participation and for their routine that they just did. She was overlooked. All right, so let's check this out here. All right, so we saw the lady or the judge or whatever she's, however she addresses herself, and you see her go up to the young lady, to the young Black gymnast, and it looks like she says something to her, and then keeps it moving, right, and then puts the medal on the other person. And so again, this was caught on video, and also there was like the coach, I believe, was up there. There was a photographer, and nobody did anything. Right, this just kind of went on in front of hundreds of other people, of other parents, and so on and so forth. Let me mind you, Jay, this took place in March 2022. 2022. That's 18 months. 18 months that this took place, and it wasn't addressed, and there was no apology to the family. And so this footage, only reason why we're hearing about this now is because earlier this month, the footage went viral, right? And so you have people like Simone Biles and what's her name? Jordan Childs, who's the other USA gymnast, who went public with some measures of support, and they raised issue with it, and they took exception to it. And they brought support for the girl and condemned the acts and things. So that's the only reason why we saw this. It took well over a year and after millions of people internationally to kind of make an issue because they were so disgusted by the incident, for the family to be even issued apologies. So this is beyond words, bro.
I mean, listen, it's clear, right? It's blatant. You look in the video, you can look at all kinds of angles. It appears that the woman was stopping in front of every child, giving them the medal, and then allowing people to kind of applaud, right? So there's no mistake made, right? She clearly skipped the young girl, right? And it was blatant, right? But this is a case of social media winning again in terms of holding people who are, racist, have bigoted views accountable on a public stage, right? Now, unfortunately, they apologized publicly because they were shamed publicly by just about every news organization, in America and internationally. But you ask me, it's not really going to make a difference, right? Because they acknowledged wrongdoing without without acknowledging the act, right? So they're still saying that the judge did it accidentally, right? And they're doing the dog and pony show as condemning racism and meeting with a nonprofit sport against racism, but it wasn't about racism. But that's what they're doing. But it wasn't about racism. She just skipped her, right? So again, they're doing the old, throwing a rock, hiding your hand, right? Shaking your hand with one hand, the other one's in your pocket, right? Because we're so stupid that you're going to give money to nonprofits to fight racism. You're going to condemn racism, but it wasn't a racist act and it had nothing to do with the young girl's race, right? But her mother doesn't feel that way. So again, I would just say, social media wins again. We've seen this several times before. We saw it with the guy who was bird watching in the park that has his own show now, right? Yeah. And time again, these are instances where the parents will probably be dismissed because they're up against a system, right? That's going to say, no, we would never do that. We treat all the kids fairly. And there's no recourse usually. So social media, the power of that phone, makes a little person like me or you as powerful at times as corporations like McDonald's, right? And Ford and whatever, this company was, right? Because we put you on blast, the public shame creates the pressure for the accountability.
It was just so, I was just so dumbfounded by the fact that they really tried to say that it wasn't intentional, right? They're handing out participation medals, which means everybody up there gets a medal, right? It's not like we're doing gold, silver, bronze, right? Like everyone up there dressed in a leotard has participated. So there's no wiggle room. There's no beyond a shadow of doubt. Oh, it wasn't intentional. I don't know. Like, what other reason could there be that you not gave this person a medal? Because everybody gets it. Everyone that showed up gets a medal. And then the whole sheer fact that, of course, that this is like a personification of institutional racism for the reason that, like, the, what is it? I think they were the Gymnastics Ireland, right? That's like the governing body, right? The fact that they're sporting and political authorities didn't even speak out originally, right? They didn't even say anything. That sends the mention, and that's, an indicator that we're okay with this, and this is going to continue on. And even like the PR person, whoever's handling this, right, didn't make it any worse. It was very cavalier, very kind of laissez-faire, right? Because initially, even say that they were going to like, oh, well, we're going to address the issues or the elements of racism, and this is going to never happen again, right? Never said that. It wasn't even like they were making an effort. It was just like very kind of like half-assed apology. And again, it was just like very just like, oh, well, they said that we thought this was a member-to-member complaint. And so we only really became aware that the family wanted a public apology, right? That's what they released.
But they're still, again, playing the games, right? They would like to meet with the nonprofit Sport Against Racism Ireland to learn how their procedures can be improved, right? What about procedurally needs to be improved, right? So again, meeting with this organization, condemning racism, it's about as insulting as the NFL painting end racism in the end zone, right? In response to Colin Kaepernick's complaints. That's what that was their response. I know they paid him off. That's a whole nother conversation. But in terms of the response to people's complaints about the conditions, right? Their response was to paint in racism in the end zone, right? So this is how they respond to us in this particular instance, to shut us up, right? We're going to talk to this nonprofit about how we can improve the procedures. We'll give them a big check, 10 grand. and then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, nothing about how the next child is going to feel safe. We're going to keep this happening. And even not even anything where we're going to meet with the family, right? It's still like, oh, we'll issue an apology or whatever the case is after the fact, after again the pressure has been put on. And that's another thing, just one as the little girl, right? Like you just feel for the little girl, because if you let the video kind of play on, like she kind of peeks over and she's looking at the rest of her peers receive medals.
Right.
And I don't know this young lady. I don't know her exact age, but in and around that age, right, they start to understand the nuances about the differences of race and the social context that comes along with, right? And this is where some of that damage and the trauma starts to take place developmentally. And also just as a parent, like Jay, like just as a parent, the most you try to do is protect and support your kid. And then there's the other part of like you becoming frustrated when you see your kid getting taken advantage or treated less than, bro. And I can only imagine what that mother and family members were experiencing at that particular time, right? I can only just imagine just the whole plethora of emotions that this parent was experiencing. And then also just you feel for them because it's probably a sense of helplessness where again this is going on for a year and a half with no
Right.
progress. And it's that sense of like helplessness where you're up against a system that has no intention on making any type of changes, correcting the situation or anything of that nature. So yeah, it's tough, but absolutely, this is where social media comes into play. I'm happy that Simone Biles and Jordan Childs and some of the other individuals that have been through similar fights in this, right? Because I can only imagine what they've experienced, kind of being again in the minority in regards to ethnicity in a predominantly white sport, right? So I can
Yeah.
only imagine what Simone and company have experienced. So I'm happy that it came across her and she was able to, bring light to it. Um, but this is
Yeah,
just
bro.
it's tough, man, when you see things like that, especially when it's involving the children.
Agree.
It's tough. Uh, on to also types of shenanigans that are being done by a different population of people. So Jay, over the summer, there was a lot of unruly behavior, unruly criminal behavior that was taking place. Flash mobs, flash mobs
Black mom.
appear to be back in session. They you know what I mean? They're trending again, and for all the wrong reasons. All right, so it looks like over the course of the summer and about a few weeks ago, you had just varieties of flash mobs where they were hitting department stores, they were hitting designer stores like the Nordstroms and the Gucci stores and all these different things, and they were coming in and they were ransacking it. So
Now what? Now what happened? Because I thought flash mob started out. I thought there was an innocent thing. I thought everybody was breaking out, in a dance or something in the park.
it's
What happened?
it's evolved. That's the best.
It's evolved into criminal behavior,
Criminal
huh?
behavior. Yeah, man. It's no longer a place where people are coming to communion. They're doing some ungodly things in there.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
It's rough. Hold on, let me
I'm.
this thing up really quick.
I was looking at an article. They just arrested a man and a woman for a flash mob robbery of a YSL store that cost them 300 grand.
Oh yeah, they're catching up to a couple of them. All right, here we go. Yeah, Eesh. Yeah.
That's an event right there, man. It's crazy.
That is that
So I was just looking at another one. They said an estimate that flash mobs will reportedly cost California 19 billion a year. But they got a lot of luxury item places, you know, like, and they doing those flash mobs. It seems like recently they've all been in high end stores too,
Mm-hmm.
like Macy. Well, you know, I mean Nordstrom, Bloomies, you know, YSL. I saw them do one in like the Chanel store, Gucci store, and when they do that, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars coming out at one time.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you can get bang for $1 million like
We were
that.
saying, we were talking about this off mic. This is not a new concept, right? This is not a new concept as far as flash mobs. We've seen flash mobs, of course, what it used to be years and years ago, but we've seen the trend more recently where I know in Philly, like a few years ago, they were doing flash mobs and it was like the assaultive nature, like where they were just running all through downtown, running up on people, punching them, all kinds of other different things, which was scary in itself. But now it's gone to a point where, I mean, essentially, this is like the where they realize, well, hey, we can go someplace, and there's that strength in numbers type of situation, right? Where
Right.
it's go in here and essentially snatch and run, right? Essentially, is we're gonna go in the store, and they can't catch all of us. We're gonna go in here, we're gonna snatch as much as possible, and then we're gonna be in and out. Simple kind
Right.
of smash and grab, snatch and run type of situation.
Right.
And like you said, as we're looking at the numbers, it's working, right? I don't like to admit it, but I mean, the results are the results. And there have only been a few arrests that have been made, um, but they're losing money. I mean, you're seeing people run out of these stores with that bags, there's all kinds of different accessories, all types of things. And I mean, this is what it is. This is the de-individuation theory, right? You have people when there's a surplus of people, people are more prone to act in more violent, aggressive, and sociopathic ways, right? Because their numbers
Right.
and you have you're anonymous throughout the whole situation, right? They got masks on, they're running there with hoods, nobody can be identified, snatch and grab. So we're absolutely going to steal and act as inappropriate as possible. And they're being rewarded for it because they're not getting caught, at least the majority of them aren't.
Exactly. You know, and let's be honest, like they organize. So they're organizing on social media. You know, I've seen reports where it's like, once they figure it out after it's over, it's like they've occupied all the parking spots outside of the store, right outside the store, right? And what they're doing is really basic, right? Because we look at the best of these stores have what, one security guard, maybe two, right? So if you bring 100 people in there, you're going to overwhelm that person, right? They're not going to be able to secure any goods or anybody. They're probably going to be worried about their own safety, right? So that's the formula, unfortunately. But I think what you're going to see, and people are going to interpret it differently, is it's kind of like, and I know this is probably a bad example, right? But remember back in the day, like, well, at least for me, like you be on your way home, you walk a certain way, whatever, and you go into the bodega, they got a sign outside that say, yo, only one person coming at a time. Everybody got to wait outside. Like you got to wait outside. Only one person going at a time, right? Because they know if they let 6 kids in at a time, some of that candy gonna come up missing or chips sometimes, right? And that's not a flash mob, right? But it's the same concept. It's like you can't watch everybody. So I think that what's gonna happen is it's gonna end up impacting our shopping experience, right? Because um, you're gonna go somewhere, I'm gonna go somewhere, right? We may be together, it may be 4 or 5 of us, and they're gonna be like, nah, you can come in, you gotta wait till he's done shopping. And we're gonna be very offended because we will have forgot about this by now. But it's gonna start affecting the bottom line, right? Because and you're not gonna probably see that in Macy's, but when you're gonna see it is, when you save your money up and you go to the YSL store or you save your money up, and I know you be in the Gucci store and Fendi store all the time. So when you save your money, when I save my money up and go in there, then we're gonna kind of see that, right? Or we could. Um, but again, it's one of these things where, again, I thought it was a fad, but obviously,
Well,
if
it's gotten
people are
desired.
rewarded, they're not gonna stop.
We know how it works in that if one group sees one Gucci store get broken into or get robbed, and you saw everybody come out on top, right? People got Gucci bags, all kinds of different things. Then what's the next group gonna see, right?
Yeah.
See one group do it. Of course, people see that they saw desirable consequences because they made out with all the goods. Hey, you know what? Listen, there's Nordstrom that's right by the exit over there at KOP or whatever the case may be, and they're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna do the same thing. Because it's happening all over the US. It's happening in California, happening in New York, it's happening, like they're gonna the same, like you said, the element. And people may not want to hear this, but just as we're putting ourselves into their shoes, right? Like the social collective element is appealing, right? It's a situation where it's more fun to do wild things like that in a group than by yourself. Because I guarantee you, some of these folks out there, this is not their first rodeo, right? This is not their first time stealing. Like we know the majority out here, I'm generalizing, but and I know the majority are out here.
So this ain't their first time stealing?
Right? It's not their first time stealing. They've done other criminal acts before, right? So they got no problem. Oh yeah, we about to do this. Oh, we do it on an even larger scale. And it's it's more as we're talking about just the behavioral and euphoric aspect. It's more fun to do things in a group than it is by yourself. Exactly. And the numbers say, like, can't catch all of us. It's strength in numbers. So again, I don't know really what the stores are going to be able to do, because even outside of a situation where you one at a time, they had a whole group in there, as opposed to them having like a police presence and somebody's like the real actual cops of police. Yeah. I can't know, because even if you're putting like the wires and other different, like you saw how they went in there aggressively, were pulling stuff.
Yo, they're gonna pull the whole pole out of there. I mean, let's be honest. If there's one police officer, like what is one police officer gonna do? You're almost putting him or her in a bad situation, right? Because what are they gonna start arresting and detaining people? You got 100 people. If a crowd of 100 turns on you, police officer or not, store security or not, you should find some cover, because Gucci and Macy's and Bloomies is gonna be all right. You know what I mean? But if them kids get a hold of your gun or your pepper spray, you know what I mean? It's gonna be a wrap. And the least thing you're gonna have to worry about is going viral. So if it was me, you know what I mean, I'm running for cover, bro. No way.
No, it definitely turns into self-preservation at that point.
Yeah, you crazy.
So we'll see, Jay. Hopefully, they get this under control. They make whatever retail adjustments that they need, so you and I's our Christmas experience won't be disrupted. And I don't have to, I don't get racially profiled when I go in there, because if they do that, guess what? I definitely will be launching a nice little suit. I'll make my Christmas real good.
That's right, man. I'm gonna be right with you, man. I need my slides. You know what I mean?
But again, this has been another edition of Let's Get Some Perspective. Jay, until next time, always a pleasure, my brother.
No doubt, bro. I'm gonna talk to you soon, man.